Now, parents, lecturers and other stakeholders have asked that measures be put in place before the resumption. In some countries like China, Denmark, Israel and Norway, schools have resumed in the midst of this pandemic, though things are quite different. Now, how prepared are our universities ahead of this? We will touch base with our correspondents at the various universities across the country. But first, here's Education Minister announcing the guidelines for safe reopening of schools.
Ghana has set up a special team under the office of the senior minister, with the Director General of Ghana Health Service, Director General of Ghana Education Service, the Director General of the Military Logistics, the Director General, Deputy Director General of Police Welfare, the Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Local Government, to coordinate in the distribution of logistics and then ensure that schools reopening happens safely and securely. We do know that this COVID has brought into bear the need to embrace blended learning, because we are getting into a new normal, and it is imperative that the universities and all Ghana educational institutions adopt blended learning. So going forward, I do know that the University of Ghana had already taken steps in this direction.
Now let's start from the nation's capital, Accra. Student journalist with Radio Universe Manuel Kranting joins us from the University of Ghana. Manuel, is UG ready to reopen per your observation?
Daniel, a number of things indeed the University of Ghana has been doing. As you're seeing across the country, yes, in fact, the past 2 days I've seen disinfection exercises, some disinfection exercises campus-wide here at the University of Ghana, led by Zoom Lion. And again, the University of Ghana has tweaked a bit to the President's directive for the wholesale resumption of school by final year. So in the University of Ghana, because a lot of the course content for the semester was completed online, management says that we're going to continue online with the exercise for the semester. But students, because a lot of them are dotted across the country, students who don't have very good access to internet connectivity can relocate to campus. So in the University of Ghana, you're not expecting a wholesale, relocation of the final year students. Essentially, the number of students expected are to be a bit lesser. And so, I mean, there's a number of other things. In fact, the library has detailed a number of protocols. There's no face masks, no entry. There are Veronica buckets at all the various university facilities and units and so on and so forth. And so, I mean, if you're going to go according to the various guidelines that we've seen from the World Health Organization and by extension the Ministry of Health in Ghana, then we could say that the University of Ghana is taking steps to be adequately prepared for the resumption of school.
Now, you have alluded to that, but shed some more light on this for me. We've had concerns about halls of residence. What are the arrangements you've seen specific to those areas?
And so, yes, in addition to the campus-wide disinfection exercise I earlier mentioned, yesterday, in fact, all the various halls of residence were disinfected, and the rooms, the various rooms, and so on and so forth. So that exercise has been done. In the halls of residence also, you are having a no face mask, no entry policy. There are the same Veronica buckets and, mandatory use of hand sanitizers and so on and so forth in the halls of residence. I have also been told by the head of halls at the University of Ghana, Dr. Riafia Kente. He tells me that the number in the various rooms, so traditionally you have University of Ghana, a typical University of Ghana residential room to house about 4 students, but they are curtailing that number to at most 2. So you'd have 1 person to a room, or at most 2 people to a room, just to make sure that we are able to observe the social distancing protocols and so on and so forth. And I've also been told that efforts are being made to make sure that in the most unlikely event, when, for instance, there's a cut in the water supply to the campus, private water suppliers will be contracted to bring water, so that the safety and hygiene protocols are continued.
Okay, we will speak to some of the students in just a moment, Manuel. We understand you've been having a conversation with them, but you are a student. Do you feel safe with the school reopening?
Well, I think that generally what we're seeing is that, particularly because the Greater Accra region where University of Ghana is located has become the hotspot with too many of the cases recorded in Accra, lot of there's some bit of apprehension within the student circles, so that within the East Legon area, the Adenka area, which are very close, enclaves to the University of Ghana, you're recording so many cases therein. And so, in fact, for some of the students, they tell me that with all the interventions put in place by the university management, they feel, again, that their safety is in their own hands. We've been told by the university management that there's not going to be any congregation at all. So, you don't have any form of group studies, you're not having any form of, lectures and so on and so forth. And so all these things culminated into the protocol for safety on campus still leaves a bit more. So the responsibility, if you ask me, lies on students to be a bit more vigilant, and even in the face of all the protocols, make sure that they keep themselves safe. Daniel. Pardon
me, Manuel, I just want to get some clarity on what you just mentioned. Did I hear you say there will be no lectures?
Absolutely no lectures. And so, like I mentioned earlier, the University of Ghana has, completed the majority of the course content for the second semester. And so what you're left with is only examination. And so, in fact, on 3rd June, subsequent to the President Directive on 31st May, the university management released a communique that said that we're going to continue with the online, what you call e-learning, program, and finish the semester online as against the President's Directive for in-person, face-to-face lectures. And so it's only the examinations that is going to continue, online. Then people are being asked to relocate to use the university facilities.
Thank you very much, Manuel Kranting. He's a student and a journalist, telling us what his expectations and what the conditions are in the University of Ghana. In the Central Region, our correspondent, Richard Kojonyako, is standing by. Richard, what's the UCC situation?
And then other academic facilities that the students will be using are being done. And then after that, the accommodation of final year students in the House of Residence, they are, allowing 2 students in a room. So there is not going to be a point where 3 or 4 students would be in one room, as the case has been. Provision of Veronica buckets, I went round and I saw Veronica buckets at the entrance of every hall, the library, and other offices that you would enter the University of Cape Coast. So what the university management has decided to do is to put in place the temperature or to take the temperature of students before they enter the facilities. They also have designated 10 rooms in each hall. They call them special rooms that have been reserved for quarantine and management by the university's COVID-19 Rapid Response Task Force. They have also made available to staff and student hotlines to the University COVID-19 Response Rapid Response Task Force, and they have asked students and workers there to wear nose masks at the halls, the library, and academic areas. The halls would also provide 2 masks to the students each. So any student that returns to the campus, they are going to give them 2 face masks for them to wear. But unlike the University of Ghana, where we heard earlier, the University of Cape Coast is going to have revision, tutorial, and examination. So they have designated the large lecture theaters on campus. So they have a lot. They have the new examination center. They also have the large lecture theater very close to the library and other places as well. So these are the places where they are going to have the tutorials, the revision, and the exams, so that they would be able to observe the social distancing protocols.
Richard, that goes without saying that we believe we have enough capacity to take smaller class sizes in UCC.
Well, so because it is only the final years that will be on campus at the moment, that is why they have designated the large lecture theaters. Had it been the case that all the streams would be on campus, then that would have been a very difficult thing for them to do. But the students are raising concerns. Some of them felt that they should have allowed them to continue with the online lectures and then subsequently the online examination. They feel that it is going to compromise or going to expose them to the virus. But the university management, I spoke to them earlier on, and they indicated that they have put in place adequate measures, and so the students should remain calm and then go about their normal duties, observing the social distancing protocols.
Now, are we seeing any addition of health personnel to the plans? I know that usually universities are equipped, but these are not ordinary times. Right, if Richard is with me, I want to know the health personnel who have been prepared to deal with this situation. Unfortunately, Richard seems to have left us. Let's move to the Volta region. My colleague, Ivy Setoji, has been to more than one institution. Ivy, where have you been and what have you observed?
Yeah, so I have been to the UHAS, that's University of Health and Allied Sciences. I have been to the Board Technical University, and then also the EP University College, the private university. Yeah, at the EP University College, they started with disinfection of the campus, and also at the Board Technical University, we realized that lecturers and management were at the meeting at the time before that, as we were not able to talk to management. But we were told that they are preparing to have the students back on campus. Everything is on board with the Veronica buses and all the entrance of every department with the sanitizer. Also, they are also putting all those things in place. At the UHAS, the same thing is happening. Lecture halls have been put in place so that students will come back and then continue with their studies. We talked to some students off camera, but they also are scared. They think that they should have continued with their own for some time before getting to school, because now Volta region is having more than about 150 now, and so they are scared of what may happen to them. So for now, universities in the Volta region are preparing to have students back on campus.
Right, thank you very much, Ivy Setoji, for those updates. We've been to the Volta, Central and Greater Accra regions. Let's head back to the Central region and this time speak to a lecturer. Dr. Tufo Kwarteng works at UCC. Doc, what's your view on the preparations which have been made to prepare for reopening?
Well, good afternoon. I don't know whether I'm still talking to Roland Walker or it's a different person. Let me use this opportunity to wish all your viewers good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity you've given me to share my thoughts on the reopening of schools this afternoon. Honestly, students have been home for some time and they cannot continue staying home, so we need to come back to school. But as it stands now, we haven't actually seen any practical measures put in place yet, except that there have been promises of things that will be done when students eventually come back. University students are coming back on Monday, and the second cycle students will also follow up the following week. And in the University of Cape Coast, where I work, there have been several interventions put in place yet to be rolled out anyway. And I think that these are sufficient, at least to allay some fears that when people come back to school, they are going to catch the dreaded virus. So I think that we have to hold our peace and just wait to see what will happen, because I believe that whatever interventions that have been put in place are okay, except that for the senior high schools, because the situations are not the same across the various schools in the country, I really cannot say much. And, you know, these are boarding students who are found in a dormitory. Normally, these dormitories are large halls with several beds in them where you can have a number of the students housed. And they also go to dining halls. We are yet to know the practical measures they are putting in place to ensure that there will be social distancing in all the facilities. But I don't think that the Ministry of Education and the various universities and the relevant agencies will ask these students to come back at the risk of their own lives, because parents are concerned, everybody is concerned about how things are going to turn out.
We will deal with the senior high schools, but on the universities, students in your school, UCC, are complaining, especially when in UG, they are not going to congregate at lecture halls. Do you think that the syllabus has not been dealt with enough, that you need to bring students into classrooms before they can write examinations?
Well, that is not the issue. You see, we have to face the fact. Some of these things are panic measures that we are putting in place to ensure that whatever situation we are having is kept under check. But indeed, you can still see people going to the market. They go to places without fearing that they are going to catch the disease. So why are students agitating that they wouldn't come back to school? See, we have to face the fact and know that, you know, students, as they always say, are the only consumers who like to be cheated. So if we hear them all the time, if you don't take care, you may make a mistake thinking that their judgment is right, and at the end of the day, whatever good measures we are putting in place are really not working. You know, University of Ghana has rolled out its own program that they are continuing the online learning, and they will do assessment online. In fact, I really don't want to discount whatever management of University of Ghana has put in place. But we know in Ghana, if you are not able to put protocol measures in place to ensure that there is honesty or integrity is upheld in the conduct of exams, I wonder how valid the exams that will be written online will be. So
balanced against the students risking their lives. Balanced against their risking their lives.
My brother, we don't have to assume that as soon as the students get on campus, they are going to contract the disease. I believe that wherever they find themselves, they interact with people, yet they are sure that they are not going to catch the disease.
On that point, and I'm coming in because you made that point earlier, Doc, pardon me. On that point of students themselves taking responsibility for themselves and putting themselves at risk, isn't it different from when they are gathered at the school, where the school is responsible for them? Shouldn't the school be taking extra measures to ensure that no one is at risk?
Well, I think I'm just taking my personal views here, and I'm not the spokesperson for the University of Cape Coast. All I'm trying to say is that there are measures put in place, so we have to look at the adequacy of the measures put in place by the university before probably we jump into conclusion that when they come, they risk their lives. As I said, there are protocols the university has put in place, and I think we have to look at the sufficiency of the protocols before we end up concluding that maybe they come at the risk of their own life.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sufo Kwarteng, for joining us this afternoon. He's a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast.